Hi, I'm Hunter with Mod Bikes, and if you're watching this video, you've likely just purchased one of our electric bicycles. Today I'm going to be showing you how to properly unpack and assemble your new ride, so let's jump right in and get you on the road. Today we're going to be unpacking and assembling my favorite ride, the Mod Easy. As always, we recommend that you get your bike assembled and tuned by an actual technician. But if you'd like to do all of the work yourself, we're going to go through all of the necessary steps in this video. The first thing we're going to do is to open the box and remove your bike. Most of your bike will already be pre-assembled, but you should also find your front wheel, fender, headlight, a box with your charger, and another box with your pedals, rotor bolts, quick release, and a bag of tools that you can use for assembly. You may also receive an additional package if you've ordered any accessories such as locks, bags, helmets, child seats, or baskets. Now let's take a look inside the tool pouch. Inside your tool pouch, you should find the quick release for your front wheel, an adjustable wrench, and a multi-tool. Your multi-tool contains a tire spoon for changing tires, a chain link tool for lengthening and shortening your chain, a flat head and a Phillips head screwdriver, a T25 size torque wrench, and a set of Allen wrenches. Your bike should come with the rotor already installed, but in some cases the rotor will need to be installed. To do this, we will need to first match the rotor to the wheel's rotation using this arrow on the side of the rotor. Next, we will install the rotor by securing it with these 6 rotor bolts using a T25 size torque wrench. Make sure that the bolts are properly aligned and work slowly so that you do not accidentally strip the bolts. Also, make sure to get these bolts in tight as you do not want your rotor to be loose. When placing the bike on the floor, be careful not to drag the front fork on the ground as this could cause serious damage to the fork. We have placed a plastic fork protector at the bottom of the fork to mitigate this kind of damage, but you should still be careful. Before we attach the front wheel, we will need to remove the fork protector as well as the brake pad spacer that protects your caliper during shipping. Please be very careful with the fork once the fork protector is removed. Do not pull on your brake levers once you remove the brake pad spacer. You can try them out once we have installed the front wheel, but these are hydraulic brakes and the brake pads will get stuck together if they are activated without a rotor or a pad spacer between the brake pads. To attach the quick release, we must first remove the threaded caps and one of the springs. Next, we will insert the skewer rod through the wheel's axle. The next step will be to place the spring back onto the skewer rod, ensuring that the smaller end is touching the wheel's axle, followed by the threaded cap, which should be placed onto the skewer rod as loose as possible. Now that the quick release is in the dropouts, we will need to rest the bike on the ground. This will ensure that the bike is properly aligned with the wheel. With the wheel properly aligned, we can now secure it by turning the threaded cap until we get tension, and then pulling the quick release lever until it is flush with the side of the fork. Do not place the lever on the fork, but on the side. The quick release lever should take some effort to close, so if it's closing too easily, open the lever, tighten the threaded cap a little more, and then try to close the quick release lever again. You may have to do this a few times to get proper tension, but this step is crucial to ensuring that your front wheel remains safely attached to your bike while riding. Now that the front wheel has been securely attached to the frame, we will move up the fork and attach the handlebars. If you're working on the ground, you can go ahead and remove the packing materials from your bike as it should be sturdy enough to stand upright with the kickstand extended. To install the handlebar, remove the 4 bolts securing the handlebar clamp with a 4mm Allen wrench. With the stem plate removed, we can now place the handlebar into the handlebar clamp at the top of the stem and replace the clamp plate, ensuring that the shifter should be on the rider's right side of the bike. Make sure that all of the cables are routed from the front of the handlebar and not through the stem. Tighten the 4 clamp bolts enough to secure the handlebars, but leave them loose enough so that we can adjust the rotation of the handlebars when the time comes. Next, we need to align the stem with the front wheel. To do this, we will need to first use our 5mm Allen wrench to loosen the 2 pinch bolts that secure the stem steerer clamp to the top of the fork steering tube. With the pinch bolts loose, we can now turn the stem around so that it is pointing forward and aligned with the front wheel. You may find it easier to secure the front wheel between your legs while turning the stem. Once the stem has been properly aligned, we need to tighten the cap bolt with a 5mm Allen wrench. Make sure to leave the pinch bolts loose while tightening the cap bolt, as the cap bolt cannot be tightened unless the pinch bolts are loose. You need to get the cap bolt tight, but not too tight. If the cap bolt is too tight, you will have a difficult time steering the bike, and if the cap bolt is too loose, your fork will not be secured and you will be in for a wobbly ride. Once the cap bolt has been tightened, you can use your 5mm Allen wrench to tighten the 2 pinch bolts on the side of the stem steerer clamp. Now that our stem is secured to the steering tube and properly aligned with the front wheel, we can go ahead and adjust the angle of the stem. To do this, we will need to loosen the pivot bolt on the side of the stem using our 5mm Allen wrench. Be careful not to loosen the bolt too much as it is spring-loaded. You may need to wiggle the handlebars to free the locking mechanism, but once it's loose, we can go ahead and adjust the angle of the stem. We recommend raising the stem all the way up to the 60-degree position, but feel free to adjust it to whatever position feels the most comfortable. You may find that it helps to sit on the bike during this step. Once the handlebars are centered and properly rotated, we can go ahead and tighten the 4 bolts on the stem's handlebar clamp. Make sure to get these bolts in tight, but be careful not to overdo it, as you could end up stripping the bolt's threads or the drive on the bolt's head. Your display and most of the components on your handlebars should already come installed, but in case you need to make any adjustments, we'll go through all of the required steps. Your display should be loose enough to move without a tool, but you may need to use your 2.5mm Allen wrench to loosen the display's mounting screws. Your control buttons can be similarly adjusted by loosening the adjustment screw on the bottom with your 2.5mm Allen wrench. To adjust the position of the brake levers as well as the shifter, we will need to use a 4mm Allen wrench to loosen the brake levers and a 5mm Allen wrench to loosen the shifter. Adjust the angle of the brake levers so that your wrists rest comfortably in a straight line with your arms while sitting on the bike. Tighten the lever into place using your 4mm Allen wrench, and then repeat the process for the brake lever on the other side of your handlebar. Once the brake levers have been adjusted and tightened, you can easily move the shifter into proper alignment with the right brake lever, and tighten it into place using your 5mm Allen wrench. The bell requires a Phillips head screwdriver and can be quickly adjusted into place. If you purchased a phone holder from us, you can install and adjust it without any tools. Our phone holders come with multiple adjustment levels so that they can fit on several different sized handlebars. You will want to place the first part of the clamp on the top of the handlebar, and then attach the second part of the clamp onto the proper adjustment level, and then tighten it down by spinning the barrel adjuster. Once tight, we can now attach the threaded cap, followed by the rubber grommet and the spring-loaded adjustment arms. These arms will grip the sides of your phone, and the rubber piece can be stretched around to secure the 4 corners of your phone. The next step will be to attach the front fender and the headlight. First, remove the fender bolt. Then thread the bolt through the headlight attachment loop and insert the bolt back in through the fork. Next, attach the fender to the bolt on the other side of the fork, and then secure it all into place by attaching the nut to the bolt. We recommend raising the fender as high as possible before tightening the nut. You may need to hold the light while you do this so that it stays in proper alignment. Now that the top of the fender has been attached, use your 4mm Allen wrench to remove these two bolts just above the fork's dropouts. Place the bolts into the loops of the fender struts and attach them back to the fork. Ensure that they are in tight, and then check that the front fender is properly aligned with the front wheel. If the fender is twisted, you can try to gently bend it into position with your hands. If the fender is rubbing against the tire, you can also try to adjust it by lightly bending the fender struts. Step will be to connect the cable for the display to the cable for the main wire. Now the pins in the cable are very sensitive, so it's very critical that before you connect them, you line the arrows on both sides of the connectors. Your final step will be to install the pedals. Your pedals should each be marked with an L or an R. The L pedal will go into the rider's left side of the bike, and the R will go into the rider's right side. Unlike most threaded parts, your left pedal is tightened by turning counterclockwise and the right clockwise. Use your hands to screw the pedals into the crank arms and then tighten them both into place using your adjustable wrench. That concludes the assembly guide for the Mod Easy. We hope you found this guide helpful. If something doesn't look or sound right, please don't hesitate to send us a message or give us a call. It is possible that your brakes will make some noise during the first few weeks of operation, as it typically takes about 60 miles to break the bike in. That said, I hope you enjoy your new ride, stay safe, and welcome to the Mod Bikes family.